Meet potential game mode. Did you know that TF2 is more than just capture the flag? I know, it's incredible, but if you scroll all the way down here, you get to see something truly horrific. The S-rank room of game modes. Even Valve knows these aren't up to scratch, having separated them into the alternative game modes category. And even here, in Misk, having multiple game modes all inside of one category. It is really all just a mess. And nestled deep within this graveyard of game modes, you'll find Pastime, a mode which at first glance seems nothing too out of the ordinary, a sort of alternative take on Capture the Flag, where instead the teams fight over holding the flag, or in this case the jack, and then bring it all the way from the centre towards the enemy's base. Now, on paper, nothing about this seems too bad. TF2 is completely filled with movement tech. A sport like game mode where you pass the ball around should, in theory, be a complete masterpiece of teamwork. But here's the problem. Nobody really plays it. It's just one of those game modes where you queue up out of curiosity, play a match or two, and then never touch it again. But why is this? Is Pastime actually just bad? Or is it secretly one of TF2's most underrated modes that just never got its chance to shine? And that's what I wanted to figure out today. So here's the plan. We're going to break down what exactly Pastime even is. And then I'm going to go through each of the classes and show you how to best utilize them in the game mode. So first things first, the rules are a little bit different to other game modes, making Pastime too complicated to just be described as TF2 but football. Once setup is finished, the jack will drop in the middle of the map. When you run into the ball, you will pick it up, and a few things will happen. First up, you will get a speed boost, similar to that of a disciplinary action, only lasting a few seconds, and when you pick up the ball, you will be marked for death for the entire duration, making you take mini crits while you hold it. You will also notice that, unlike in Capture the Flag for example, when you are holding the jack, you are unable to use any of your weapons. Instead, all you are able to do is throw the jack. So you can either throw it normally, and you see a little yellow outline to where it will land, or you can look towards a teammate and have it lock onto them. If you throw it and the enemy picks it up, instead they will be given a brief period of invulnerability. In order to score points, you need to be carrying the ball and throw it into one of the goals, which there are 3 kinds of. Located all the way in the back of the base is a touchdown goal, and this one will push away any throwing attempts back. In order to score in this one, all you need to do is simply run into it while holding the ball, just like a touchdown. The next goal is the throw-in goal, a teamed coloured hole in the wall about halfway between mid and the touchdown goal, so it is a little bit easier for you to get to it. In order to score in this one, the jack needs to be thrown into the enemy's hole, which can be a little bit tricky. And the last goal is the bonus goal, another teamed coloured hole, usually high up and requiring a jump pad in order to reach, and unlike the regular goals, it is worth 3 points, and can only be scored in when the jack meter is at full. Passing the jack between your teammates fills up this meter, and it is visible at the top of the screen. The meter doesn't reset if the enemy takes the jack. However, if there are no passes made, it does slowly decay over time. You got all that? TLDR, circle goes in the circle hole. So all that's left to do is to queue into a game and check it all out for myself. But I've heard that the queue times are really long, so while I queue myself into a game, I'll have this timer up and I'll remind you all to hit that subscribe button and like the video as well, because only a small percentage of people who are watching these videos are actually subscribed, so you should fix that. And if you are interested, I have a Discord server now, and you can find it in the description of this video. Nothing really goes on there yet. Oh, the match is ready. That didn't take long at all. There are 3 maps in Pastime, each of which are heavily inspired by other maps. Timber Town, which looks like a sawmill, Brickyard, which looks just like Manhattan, and District, which looks like Hong Kong. Timber Town has some clear paths which are pretty much just 3 straight lines from spawn and to where the ball drops from. In the middle area there are some jump pads nearby which give quick routes to grab the jack. and there are open walkways on both sides that lead towards the enemy's area. These paths help players get around fast and offer simple choices: go left, go right, or go straight. It's very basic, but that's not a bad thing. What isn't basic is Brickyard, which feels more like a maze of warehouses and open floors. It has a big central area divided by container stacks, where you can use jump pads in order to move up to the roofs. And these paths let you cross overhead between the roofs, with more jump pads to weave through the shipping area. It gives you lots of choices: stay low for cover, or move high up for speed and sight. District has tighter, more complicated routes. There are subway tunnels below, and alleyways that branch off from the main streets, and the paths are narrow and twisty, making it easy for you to get stuck or ambushed, while allowing you to do rocket jumps and sticky jumps across, thanks to its generous skybox. So those are the maps, pretty different from each other, and they change how the match feels. But of course, maps are only half of the story, with the other half being which class you pick. Because, let's be honest, not every class is built for running around trying to keep up with the Jack. Some shine at carrying it, others are better suited for protecting the carrier, and others are just kind of there. So let's break down how each class fits into pastime, starting with the obvious speed demon. Naturally, in the game mode where you need to carry your ball into the enemy's base, Scout is a no-brainer go-to choice. Being the fastest class in the game, he is able to easily swoop in and steal the Jack, and then easily run away from every other class trying to chase you. It works the other way too, since classes like Soldier and Demo can't do jumps when holding the Jack. Scout is a perfect choice for chasing down the enemy team's Jack carrier and taking them out. But Scout is far more than just his speed, and he has very powerful tools which benefit you even more. Starting with his primaries, Stock is a very good choice, but in this game mode, movement is everything, so the Force of Nature is a really good pick. You can use it for the extra jump to take a flank to the Jack, but more usefully, its knockback on hit can allow you to knock enemies away from the Jack, or if they are carrying it, you can knock them away from the goals. Surprisingly, the short stop can be quite a good choice. Since the Jack carrier is marked for death, using the short stop can allow you, as a scout, to take them out from a greater distance. For secondaries again, there are many good options. The pistols are an all-round good choice, just like normal, and the cleaver is a nice finisher, especially if you can mini-crit the Jack holder. What I found my favourite secondary to use is the bonk. Usually just seen as a throwaway weapon, here it is actually really useful. The most picked class in this game mode is the Scout, with the next being Engineer, with nearly every match turning into 5 scouts running right into a single sentry built by a gibbous engineer who thinks this is too fort. But with the bonk's on-demand invincibility, you are able to distract the sentry gun and be a supportive player, allowing your teammates to now cap for basically free. Plus you can kill the engineer with their own sentry, and that's always funny. Sadly, you are unable to carry the Jack while under the effects of bonk. However, you can always just use the bonk as a get out of jail free card if you aren't carrying the Jack and you're about to die. For your melee, there is one which really stands out, one which in every other game mode is a terrible choice: the Sandman. Lower maximum HP and a ball which slows down targets. In any other game mode, this is near useless. In Pastime, which is a game mode where speed is everything, making someone as slow as a heavy for a few seconds is really useful, especially if they are carrying the Jack or trying to grab it themselves. With a well-timed Sandman ball, you are able to completely save the game and grab the Jack for yourself, so it is just about the only game mode where it can see some actual viable use. Overall, Scout is a very great and versatile, well-rounded choice. He's able to do offense with being able to capture the ball easily, and he's able to defend well and be able to switch between it thanks to his high speed. With all of these scouts running around, we need somebody to put these pests down, and there is no one better to call than the Engineer. Is the Scout's natural hard counter. With his sentry gun, pop one down, and it makes it near impossible for a Scout, or any other class really, to make it past, making him the perfect class for defense. Simply throw a sentry gun right down next to the goal, and you can basically single-handedly defend it from an entire enemy push. Just because you are strong on defense doesn't mean you have to only be playing defensively. One of the biggest mistakes I see engineers make in pastime is turtling up way too far back and being basically a sitting duck for the entire game. Not only is this mind-numbingly boring, but it doesn't help your team push the jack forward. So if you do want to do this and have a little bit more fun, you want to bring your sentry guns forward as your team pushes up with the jack. Pastime, you want to think about engineer how you would in payload offense. You're not going to be setting up a level 3 building at your spawn when your team is pushing the payload all the way up to their enemy's spawn. Instead, you want to bring them forward and place them in spots stopping the enemy team from going any further and pushing you back to your own spawn. Place your sentry guns near a choke point or place them by a jump pad. Make them in a position where the enemies have to deal with them before making any progress. A level 2 sentry gun in a good forward position can do way more and cover more ground for your team than a level 3 sitting in your spawn. And when you are moving your buildings around, the jag will be your best friend. Faster build speed means that you're able to get a sentry or a dispenser up right where you need it before the enemy even realizes what you're doing. It can be far more efficient to have a level 2 sentry gun up quickly than investing all of the time for a level 3. And for an even more aggressive playstyle, the Gunslinger is amazing. Having mini sentries just sitting around anywhere on the map makes it so much harder for the enemies to make it to your base and score. And since they're cheap and build up quickly, you can throw them down constantly without having to worry about a big investment. If you are using minis, there is one shotgun which stands out above them all, the Frontier Justice. Every time your sentry gets destroyed, which will happen often if you're using minis, you'll build up revenge crits based on its kills and assists. And in a mode like Pastime, where scouts are constantly diving into your guns on accident, this weapon basically gives you infinite crits. And if you're using minis, you can build up another sentry gun right after your one gets destroyed. If you want to be really annoying, you can use the short circuit, and you can delete any enemy projectiles instantly. Just stop the usual rocket spam heading right to your sentry gun. Plus, the ball can do some pretty decent damage to it by itself. Overall, Engineer is a defensive and offensive nightmare. While you may not be able to be playing the objective well by yourself, you can very easily play a very strong supportive role with your sentry gun and dispenser. Plus, if you can stick a mini sentry down in the enemy's base while you're on a push, it's basically a free score on your side. There really is no good counter to these minis, and even just a single one can make it impossible for anyone else to play the game. Soldier is a very strong pick for Pastime, with his standout primary being the direct hit. Its ability to one-shot mini-sentries and one-shot scouts makes it absurdly versatile and valuable, while still being decent at taking out leveled sentries too. If your team is struggling against a nest, just 2 clicks and suddenly the lane is wide open for a push. And if the enemy team has the ball... that was weird, I could have sworn I saw someone holding it. The direct hit's faster projectile speed, and the jack holder being marked for death, you don't need to worry about damage fall off, and your faster projectile speed allows you to actually hit shots from further away. Simply put, Soldier is a complete damage hose. Soldier isn't just about raw damage. Rocket jumping changes everything. Being able to launch yourself across the map at high speeds not only keeps you in step with the fastest classes, but also lets you outpace Scout entirely, allowing you to quickly go from attacking right to defending if someone managed to slip through with the ball. And this is where the gunboats really shine, letting you chain jumps together without totally deleting your health bar. You don't really need to go into details about why the gunboats are good. You take less damage, you can do rocket jumps more often, and rocket jumps themselves are insanely powerful. Alternatively, you could bring one of the banners. The battalion's backup makes sentry pushes way safer for you and your entire team, while the Conqueror provides your team with a speed bonus, as well as healing on hit. Both of them are insane with a mode where positioning and sticking together of your team is really powerful. Battalion's backup especially stands out since it removes any damage buffs received from mini crits or critical hits, meaning that if you stick near the jack holder, they are no longer marked for death essentially, making it way harder for enemies to take them out. And as for your melee weapons, Soldier has two of them which can provide utility, being the disciplinary action which allows you to whip slower teammates forward, dragging your heavy hitters forward into the fight faster, or giving your faster classes an even greater burst of speed in order to secure a goal. On the flip side, the escape plan is perfect if you hate people and just want to give yourself a speed boost when at low HP. Just use the escape plan how you normally would. All this together makes Soldier a true hybrid. He can shut down scouts, break sentry nests, support his team's movement, and still play the objective himself. In pastime, he isn't just another damage dealer, he's often the momentum swing your team needs. Despite his slower warp speed compared to Scout, he is actually still a really good class to use for scores, simply because of rocket jumping. While you can't do a rocket jump while carrying the jack, you're able to throw the jack, then do a rocket jump and pick up the jack mid-jump, basically doing a rocket jump while holding the jack. And this basically makes Soldier a really good class, able to kill all the good classes, able to defeat sentry guns, and hypermobile. But he isn't the only class who can do all of these things. Demo Man is another powerhouse in pastime, largely thanks to the sticky bomb launcher. There's really no argument here, stickies remain one of the most reliable ways to destroy sentries and lock down an area. If the enemy engineer is making it too difficult to push the jack forward, just chuck a few stickies over and clear the way. Plus, with sticky jumping, you have incredible mobility, able to go from one end of the map to the other, allowing you to switch from offense and to defense real quick. If you struggle to get an angle on a sentry gun to destroy it, the base jumper actually has a place here. Normally considered just a gimmick weapon, but in pastime it gives Demo Man a whole new angle of attack. Staying airborne for a long time allows you to not only keep out of line of sight of sentry guns, but allowing you to fire them down with sentry guns, basically becoming a floating artillery piece, perfect for sentry busting for your team. Of course, not every problem can be solved with standard stickies. Scouts, the king of pastime, can often outrun or dodge your usual traps, and this is where the quickie bomb launcher shines. Its faster charge time allows you to react to threats on the fly, picking off the jack carriers before they make it to the goal. It also has the added benefit of destroying sentries from further away, or at least doing so faster. The versatility here is huge. One moment you're controlling close range fights, and the next you're sniping a scout from across the field. But what about if a scout actually closes distance and ends up in close range with you? With the quickie bomb launcher's less damage, you'll struggle to defend yourself. And that is where the loose cannon can come in. With a well-timed double donk, you can outright just one-shot them, instantly removing them one of the biggest threats from the mode, just like the Soldier with the direct hit can. Even against bulkier classes, the knockback alone from a double donk is often enough to deny their push, or send a jack carrier flying in the wrong direction. When combined with Demo Man's other tools, the loose cannon turns him into a complete package, capable of dismantling defensive sentries, and being able to punish scouts in keeping the field under his control. So that is all for the Demo Man, but I'm yet to touch on Demo Knight, who is very, very useful, potentially more so than even Scout. As a Demo Knight, you have your shield charge allowing you to dash forward at high speeds, faster than any other class can travel, making a Demo Knight, or even just a hybrid knight, a very good choice for chasing the jack, allowing you to charge to it, or if you are already holding it, throw it, charge, and then pick it up again at the end. But Demo Knight has some of the best use cases in pastime, thanks to a little detail I missed out. You are able to steal the jack from the enemies holding it. In order to do so, you need to hit them with your melee weapon. I neglected to mention this for the previous classes, since doing so with them is rather difficult, but as a Demo Knight, you're literally built to do this. Hit right click and travel towards the jack holder, and you're able to steal it with a melee hit. Plus, when you steal it, you'll be granted the invincibility and the speed boost, allowing you to flee without any risk. But still, that is not everything the Darrow Knight has. With the Eyelander, collecting 4 heads gives you more HP than a soldier, and faster move speed than a scout. Alongside your shield resistances, you are pretty much the best Jack carrier. Not only can you slide in and steal it with a shield charge, but you can then run off at speeds barely anyone can keep up with, and brush off any damage you take thanks to your high health pool and shield resistances. The best shield I would say is a charge and charge, since the high damage resistances are really important. But the Tide Turner can also see some use if you're focusing on just stealing the Jack rather than surviving long. As for your melees, I've already mentioned how great the Eyelander is, but if you struggle to get any heads, the Claymore's longer charge distance can be useful for stealing the Jack, or just charging in general. And getting charge from ammo via the Persian Persuader is also a nice benefit. Pick whichever sword you like though. These are the 4 main classes which you will see in pastime, and are easily the best choices thanks to their high mobility, and being able to attack and then switch to defending with ease. But that doesn't mean that the other classes are useless. Take Heavy for example. At first glance, he would seem like a stupid choice. Slowest class in the game, you have no way to keep up with the Jack. And you're right, so most people end up playing him defensively, treating him basically like a sentry gun with very slow legs, used to just rev up in your base to dish out high damage, especially since the Jack holder takes mini crits, meaning that your miniguns will absolutely shred them. Or they can use the Natasha, which is by far the worst minigun, but here the slowdown can be really impactful. It's just not really fun to be sat in your base revved up the whole time. What is fun is the Gru, which allow you to walk at a normal speed while you hold them. I'd say that they easily outclass the Pistol Steel in pastime, whereas in other game modes they're pretty much even. But since movement speed is just that much more important, they have the edge in pastime. Whenever you aren't revved up with your minigun, and you're just wandering about, you should be pulling out your melee, just so you can have that bit of extra movement speed. It will allow you to keep up with the game state that much more effectively. Of course, staying on the move constantly isn't effective if you can't actually shoot people, and so the only good option for a primary is the Tomislav, because it always is anyway. Faster rev up time, which means you can just shoot people faster. But even with all of this, Heavy is slow regardless. So if only there was some way to make him faster. Oh wait. Located around the map are these speed power-up things that when ran into, grant you a speed boost, similar to that of picking up the Jack. And these can be used to help a Heavy, or any other less mobile class, to keep up with the other players. And these jump pads which I've mentioned, they send all the classes up and in the same direction at the same speed. So as a Heavy, you are going to want them to make the most of these jump pads and speed power-ups. If you can use them well, then your speed won't really be much of an issue. Plus, if you are able to go to a jump pad, you can actually rev while on top of them, so you can easily jump, rev up and then ambush people with your minigun instantly being able to fire. But still, needing to rely on speed power-ups and jump pads makes Heavy very restricting. So why would you actually want to play as him? Because he has 300 HP, you idiot. With the common folk picking Scout usually in this game mode, you're not really at too much risk, since if a Scout is going to be getting close to you, you can just shoot them with your minigun and they die. And even if they get the drop on you, they need to take 3 shots, you only need a couple seconds with your minigun. Plus, when it's all done, you can chop down on your trusty sandwich, and heal right back to full HP. But I've honestly found that the most fun I've had with Heavy on pastime is running him with a shotgun. Being able to stay moving while shooting is just very powerful in this game mode. And since I'm always running around with the Gru out, I've liked to use the panic attack, since its faster quick speed lets me dish out damage right when I need it. And Heavy isn't the only class who is overlooked in past time. Pyro is another class which is largely regarded as not being great, but this sentiment is just stupid. They have two secondaries, being the thermal thruster and the detonator, which allows a pyro to easily keep up with other classes with his own movement tech. The thermal thruster offers you basically a free rocket jump every few seconds, and the detonator allows you to do more frequent, lesser impactful jumps at the cost of your HP. Plus, it comes with a pretty decent tool for long-range damage, allowing you to pick off the jack carrier or anyone else if you need to. And of course, Pyro has the power jack melee, which is basically just a free speed boost whenever you pull it out, just like the Guru, except it doesn't drain your HP, so it's just like way better. Of these three weapons, a Pyro is very easily able to keep up with the game state and wherever the jack is located. And then with your flamethrower, you're able to melt the jack carrier or anyone else who gets in your way. So Pyro is a very good pick for offense. If you can make use of these jump pads as well, Pyro is truly a really great offensive class. My favourite thing to do is to use the extinguisher and go for puff and sting combos, because no one really ever expects it nowadays, and you get yourself a nice little speed boost. Planned, the Dragon's Fury can make Pyro into a really effective sentry buster too. And aside from his offensive power, Pyro is a really good defensive class as well. He can use the Home Wrecker and become the greatest Pyro to the horde of engineers that appear on Pastime. But more notably is Air Blast, being able to push back any scoring attempts or push away the jack holder from getting closer. A Pyro with Air Blast can be quite good as an actual goalkeeper, and with the Scorch Shot, you can stun an enemy and knock them away from long range. So pretty much, Pyro has everything. A decent move speed, items which even increase his mobility more, great firepower for offense, and great supportive tools for defense as well. And with the Detonator or the Scorch Shot, you have some of the best long-ranged items in the game. But you can always do better. Let's discuss the Sniper next. Being able to one-shot every major class in this game mode, able to do so from long range where no one else can even hit you, areas of each map where you're able to see both yours and the enemy's base, meaning that you can kill enemies to help support your team during pushes, but also if someone is able to sneak past with the jack, you're able to flick and take them out as well. Sniper is really good. Now, are you going to be able to score with him? Probably not. But a good sniper can easily open up the opportunity to score for someone else on your team. Whether it's taking out anyone who's trying to defend with a great headshot from far away, or be it making the game-winning snipe to take out that one flanking scout who your entire team ignored. You don't really need to change how you would play sniper in this game mode. Just shoot people as you normally would, and you'll do good. Now, while this might be effective, sitting in your base holding right click for the entire 15-minute duration of a game can be rather boring. So if you want to spice up Sniper's gameplay a bit, you can try out the Huntsman and be a little bit more closer to your enemies. You can try using an SMG and use that more often. Or my personal favourite, use the Bushwhacker and just chase down the Jack Carrier. Since they're marked for death, it will pretty much always be a one-shot crit, and it's funny. Medic might seem like a useless class in this game mode. With all the top players picking classes with great movement options, it would be very easy for you to be flanked and picked off. This idea is wrong. Very wrong. I'd actually argue that Medic is one of the best classes in this game mode. First of all, with all the scouts about, you can heal them and match their movement speed. So a medic needing to keep up with your allies isn't much of an issue, since you can pretty much always move at 133% movement speed. But what makes Medic amazing is that on 2 of the 3 maps, Brickyard and District, you have a 30-second setup time, just like how you would in, say, Payload. Now in Timber Town this is present as well, but you are stuck in your spawn. But in the other 2 maps, the 2 teams can leave their spawn and go for a mid-fight before the ball spawns. So what's the big deal? Well, when I said just like Payload, I meant just like Payload. During this 30-second setup time, Medic receives that faster Uber build rate, even though you aren't trapped in your spawn and can fight people. Which means that if your team has a Medic, or if you yourself are playing Medic, and the enemy team doesn't, it is basically a free mid-fight, where you can just get 1 Uber charge out, win the mid-fight, and then be able to have it fully charged again before the ball even drops. Possibly being able to get 2 Ubers out and fully charged before the round properly starts. Okay, well, that's busted, but it's still just a one-trick used at the start of a round, right? Well, you're wrong. Being able to heal and keep your Jack carrier alive is really powerful. Now notice how I just said heal, and that's because with the stock Uber charge, you're not actually able to do it on the Jack carrier. You can use it while healing them, but they will not be granted the invulnerability while holding the Jack. So which Uber is the best? Even though you can't Uber the Jack carrier, stock Uber charge still works just fine on teammates, and can be good to pop onto someone just when they're trying to kill the Jack carrier or any other teammate. Whether it be pushing into a sentry gun, which there are abundance of in this game mode to begin with, stock Uber charge is no doubt a bad option. The Crit Creek has a similar issue, where because when you're carrying the Jack you're unable to shoot, it's completely useless to Uber charge the Jack carrier. But again, it is still useful to use on teammates to help kill people in a supportive push. However, as a medic, your main focus should be on that Jack carrier itself, keeping them alive so you can score a goal easier. What is worth mention is the quick fix, with it being the only medigun which can mimic a soldier, demo man, pyro, any other class's mobility option, letting a medic be just as mobile as them, which is key in this game mode. Ram it up your soldier boyfriend's backside and you'll be able to follow them all the way into the enemy's team. So while the other mediguns can mimic a scout's movement speed, the quick fix is the only one which can mimic a blast jump, which allows you to be even more mobile. And the icing on the cake for this is that the Uber charge works on the Jack carrier still. Its Uber charge being a faster heal rate on you and the target, along with a knockback immunity, meaning all of those items that I mentioned which can be used defensively, like sentry guns, the scorch shot, air blast, force of nature, they basically don't mean anything now. But the final medigun, and I hate to do it, but the Vaccinator, with its very, very fast Uber rate, and having 4 disposable Ubers, with the 30-second setup, you can literally pop an Uber charge every single time one runs out. It is that quick. You basically have, for 30 seconds, a permanent Uber charge. And also, when the round actually starts, it's still the best one, since its Uber charge works on the Jack carrier, provides them a damage resistance, and most importantly, still gives them as much overheal, whereas the quick fix only gives half. Plus, with its damage resistances, with the Uber charge, it removes critical hits, meaning that the Jack carrier being marked for death no longer means anything. The Vaccinator is really busted. Sniper can no longer headshot you, minis do like 2 damage, it almost feels like cheating. And since I'm discussing medic, it is my regularly scheduled me preaching propaganda about the overdose. With a full Uber charge, you get a 20% movement speed bonus while you're holding it. If you are struggling to keep up with the ball and your teammates keep running away from you so you're no longer able to leech off of a scout speed, hit 1 on your keyboard and you can run faster for yourself. Do combat classes keep flanking you and teammates don't help at all? Just get good. People really underestimate the power of needles, and a good medic can actually be scary. I don't care that it does less damage. It's only 1 less damage. That doesn't mean anything on a rapid-fire weapon. And I don't care that the extra healing from the Blutsauger could be good. The higher health regeneration and faster speed makes it better for Battle Medic anyway. Oh, yeah. And the crossbow can be useful, I guess. Probably just use that. And last but not least, the Spy. While he might not be the flashiest Jack carrier, Spy is extremely useful for supporting your team. You can backstab key targets just like normal TF2, either defending their goal or those trying to steal the ball. But most importantly, and your most useful role, you can sap sentry guns to open up paths for your teammates. Even a simple distraction with a sap where you sap it once, die immediately and the engineer takes 2 swings to destroy it, can be enough to completely change how the game flows. Spy can quite easily be one of the most impactful classes in this game mode. The jump pads also give Spy some fun mobility options. You can get into awkward angles and escape quickly after a backstab, or pull off some ridiculous plays for your ultra epic Spy montage. It's not that often that a game mode rewards this kind of stylish movement, but Pastime makes it possible. Since the Spy can go invisible, using the jump pads to descend on an enemy from the sky is really fun. They literally cannot see you coming, and you can surprise yourself behind them with a nice and cheeky backstab. When it comes to your weapon choices, none of them really matter. You're Spy, just pick what you want. But my favourite one was the Eternal Reward, because it really shines in this game mode. In most other game modes it is rather situational, but in Pastime it is fantastic because often there's at least 5 engineers on the enemy team, constantly putting up sentries, and sometimes you just can't sap and stab them all. But with the Your Eternal Reward letting you stab without having to worry about dropping your disguise, you can stab an engineer, sap their sentry gun, and keep going without any worry of being shot by the other 7. The use of jump pads and the speed power-ups makes it so you can use these and not have to worry about the faster cloak crane that it gives you, since you can get to where you want to be going a lot quicker. For watches, the stock Invis watch is always reliable, just letting you sneak past enemies without any worries. The Dead Ringer, as much as I hate it, it gives you a speed boost, and that alone can be game changing. Face down the Jack carrier, since they have a speed boost when picking it up, it can be quite hard for you to actually get a backstab. Plus, thanks to its insane damage resistance, you can just pop it and escape out a messy fight. Oh, and probably don't use the cloak and dagger because you can hardly move with that thing. It's just not great for Pastime. Overall, the Spy is not the one who's going to be running the scores, but he is the ultimate support, quietly making life miserable for the enemy team and letting your faster, more mobile classes shine. And so, that is all of the classes and the game mode itself, and the maps. Overall, I quite like Pastime and it can be very fun. Making you constantly have to think about repositioning, it can be quite stressful and very rewarding when you play well. The jump pads and the speed power-ups makes it very rewarding for you to try and do flashy things, as well as closing the gap between some less mobile classes. But now it's time for me to talk about some random junk, which I couldn't really fit anywhere else in this video. The Cowmangler. It has an M2 fire. It's kind of useless and doesn't really get much value, but you can use it when holding the jack. Not really that useful, but that's cool. If you're free to play and really want a hat that isn't the gibbous, playing a couple games of Pastime will actually reward you with some hats for doing some achievements. Here they are on the screen, and they don't look that... Okay, they kind of look terrible, but oh well, free stuff. And then in Brickyard with the secret Marasmus TV room, where someone needs to score with other people standing on top of a guitar, and then you need to go into a secret room that's located in your spawn, and then stand in a circle with one of each class, where you need some guide and find non-stupid people, 8 of them. Yeah, this achievement is really stupid, I hate it. And just like in Capture the Flag, Whenever your team scores a point, your entire team will be granted critical hits for a few seconds. Which isn't that impactful really, because it only lasts a few seconds, but it can be funny, and it does allow you to get out of a pickle after you score. If the entire enemy team surrounds you, one critical hit explosive, and they're all dead. So that is everything about pastime. And sure, it might not have the player count of payload or control point, but that doesn't really make it bad. In fact, I would argue that it is one of the most underrated game modes in TF2. And there's a reason. It rewards teamwork, creativity, and a little bit of madness. You don't necessarily have to work in a team, and many players can find themselves succeeding just by snagging the ball for themselves and running off to the goal. While it certainly is one of the most unique game modes in TF2, and it is very, very different to the more standard ones, that doesn't necessarily make it bad. Allows for some lesser used weapons to actually have a spotlight, and encourages you to think outside of the box for each of the classes. It might not be for everyone, but if you do get the hang of it, it can be really fun. So next time you scroll past the alternatives game mode section, maybe don't just shrug it off and move on. Maybe just tick that little pastime box, and one day you might just find yourselves accidentally entering a pastime match. There you can experiment with the classes however you like. It could just be some of the most fun you have in TF2. Did I get anything wrong? Disagree with my opinions? Think I missed something? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video or found it interesting, consider giving it a like, sharing it, and possibly even subscribing. And join the Discord in the link in the description. And thank you for getting to the end.